how do you perceive that trust? How do you perceive that trust? And I mean, we're talking, the service providers now that we're addressing. How can they better build that trust quickly with you, whether it's a relationship manager approaching you or an actual technician? What are those key things that you would really pick up on immediately?
Well, it's never their fault. They don't make any mistakes. They don't want to tell you about the mistakes. And I was in facilities for a long time. There are lots of things that happen. And some of them are the service vendor's fault. Some of them are my restaurant people's fault. Some of them are neither one. There are things that just happen. And it is finding that out and having a service provider who, if I knew they were wrong, and sometimes I did, tell him, hey, listen, we messed up. Okay, fine. How do we go about getting it fixed? The other thing could be trust of a different level. When they always overpromise and they never deliver. Even as simple as
sales 101.
Friday afternoon, and I got a restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia, needs air conditioning, and I know where the guy's office is, and I know the part of town where the restaurant is, and he says we'll be there in an hour. And then 3 hours later, he calls me back to tell me they got stuck in traffic. Well, you live in Atlanta. You should know. I mean, but it's over-promising to give me the answer you think I want to hear and then not delivering. Something as simple as that.
And so expand on those 3 bullet points, because I think that's a really interesting insight for someone coming in to pitch to a man like yourself with your previous roles. Like, how do I look for those 3 core values in the facility managers that we're approaching or potentially already dealing with? And I know everyone will have different core values, but what were yours? How would I, as a food equipment service business, really walk in your office and align with your core values?
My values would be, well, one is, for me to develop trust, you have to be honest with me. You have to tell me exactly what's going on. And I will do the same for you. If my manager messes it up, I'm a big person. I'll tell you, we messed up and here's how we're going to take care of it. But, be honest with me. The second is, as I mentioned before, don't promise to me what you can't deliver. If I ask you to do something that is not in your wheelhouse, just tell me you can't do it. I have much more respect for that than I do to tell me you can when you can't. And the third one was, for me, of not having people in the field. My number one rule was, if something goes bad, I want to be the first person to know. I have to be the first person to know. Okay. I don't want you to have a discussion with the assistant manager. I don't want you to have a discussion with the cook. I don't want you to have a discussion with whoever might be in the bill. I want you to call me. And the reason for that is, I am trying to manage 900 locations and 900 managers and another 200 and something manager types on top of that. I have to be the most trusted person in the facility world for them. And the only way I can do that is when something goes wrong and they call me in a panic, my first answer is, I already know. I may not have the answer and I may not know how to fix it yet, but just the fact of telling them I already know makes all the difference in the world with the vendor telling me. And a vendor who over and over wouldn't honor that request, because it's not hard.
Open lines of communication is what you're after.
Yeah, it's why they lost business, because I needed to make my manager, when they called and they were panicking, I had to calm them down. And the best way to do it was, don't make it worse by saying, what do you mean your building's on fire? And I don't know about it, because they lose trust in me. I'm supposed to know everything, whether you do or not. They think that. And so by your vendor calling you first and telling you what happened, you being able to say that gives them some calmness and the reason to call you again the next time.
Interesting. And it's interesting because I think nothing that you're talking about today is rocket science.
No, not at all.
No,
No.
and it's just reinforcing, I think, that this is the types of relationships that these facility managers want.
Sure.
Um,
And in most of the things that, whether it's me or it's another facility person who's talking about, you mentioned earlier about how do you, after you've completed the call and so on, how do you follow up with the customer and so on? Well, the easiest way to do it is if it's your customer and you're the salesperson who has set up that account, you do the follow up. And it's very simply, I know we completed our work order yesterday. I want to make sure that everything's okay. And all you're looking for is simple yes, no. And if the answer is no, what are the issues?
Yeah.
And how do you tackle them and take care of them, and then communicate back to them? But it shows that you're following up. And then periodically you just check in, how are we doing? So that person who's a restaurant manager never says, well, I had some problems, but I didn't know who to call. No, not true. I'm your contact. I'm following up with you on a periodic basis. I'm keeping open lines of communication and giving you every opportunity to let me know of anything that's not right so that I can address it and get it fixed.